Hi, I'm Reagan.
And I'm Bailey, and you're listening to
Graveyard Gossip. How was your day?
Reagan, it was long.
How was it?
Bank duties, man. It's rough. How was your day?
Work was actually pretty chill. Like, it really wasn't that bad, especially because I got all my shit done on Monday, so that way I didn't have to do anything.
Yeah.
But then I went to the gym afterwards, and then I had to go to Country Mart, and everybody and their mom and their dog is there.
Yep. Get ready for that holiday.
And then, so I was buying a bottle of wine because I was like, I fucking need it. And then this lady was like, grab 2. And so I grabbed one. She said, oh, I was just joking. I said, are you sure? And she said, and then took the bottle from me. So I was like, okay.
She needed it too.
Me too. Okay.
What are we talking about today?
So I'm going to talk about the story of Dale Clarence Sorrenson II. It is a cold case, so it's going to go a little quick, but there's really not much information about it, so I really wanted to put it out there so that way we can kind of bring some light to the case.
Some awareness.
Yeah. So this took place in 1970.
Okay.
So on February 7th, 2 12-year-old boys were coming back from a basketball game and left their bikes at the church. So they were coming back to come grab their bikes, and as they were unlocking the door on the east side of the church, they looked over and discovered the mutilated body of Dale Sorrenson.
His body was outside of the church?
Yeah. Right next to the door. So Dale was born on July 2nd, 1939 in Golden Valley, North Dakota, to Dorothy and Dale Sorrenson. I wasn't able to find much on Dale's childhood, which is really sad because I wasn't able to find much on his military background either.
Yeah.
Which is also really sad. Like
there
should be more.
Yeah.
So what we do know is that he was stationed here at Fort Sill. So I tried looking at different military websites, try to get some information on him, and literally all his stuff is blank. Like, there's no information about.
Like, he was never really there?
No. And maybe I just wasn't looking at the right stuff. I don't know, but I couldn't find anything. So yeah, we do know he was active duty. And so he was staying on Fort Sill. So one day he finds out that the chess tournament that he was going to participate in had been canceled.
Okay.
So Dale was super into chess. That's what we do know. So he was obviously pretty bummed out about this and was just like, okay, well, whatever, I'll head out, go grab some dinner, whatever.
Something to pass the time.
Yeah. And so he went to go eat dinner at a local cafe. And unfortunately, this was the last time Dale had been purportedly seen.
Dang.
I tried to find what cafe it was. I know it was somewhere on Fort Sill Boulevard, but I think the media kind of wanted to keep that business out of light just because this is such an intense case.
I wish we knew. We would have gone and
had
some dinner.
Yeah.
With Dale.
Have you seen this man? Or, well.
It's been a while.
So yeah, it was reported that Dale had been seen at a club not far from the cafe that was also around Fort Sill Boulevard.
Okay. Do we have any clubs on Fort Sill Boulevard now? Or is it just bars?
Yeah, I think it's just bars. I think the only club that we have now is on Lee Boulevard, and it's called like 78 Club or something like that. I don't know, but they have this seafood truck that's over there. It's like a Cajun seafood that I really, really want to go try because I drive past it every day and I'm like, fuck, I need to turn over. But then I forget. Or I'm just like, oh, I can't right now, whatever, but I need to go check it out. Another small business.
We're going.
Yes. So around 10:30 p.m. that night, a woman was driving down the road when a man on a motorcycle dressed in, quote, hippie garb,
oh my gosh,
blocked her path and was kind of like harassing her. And I guess the hippie garb was mentioned just because it's the 70s.
People hated hippies.
Bunch
of stoners.
Yeah. So while this guy's like in front of her, harassing her, whatever, she looks over and she sees about 4 or 5 different men in the same getup. And she said that they were doing some type of ritual dance in the church parking lot. So I don't know about that or how concrete that is, because around the same time the Manson murders were happening.
Okay.
So that was heavy on everybody's mind because which we'll get into the Manson family eventually at one point. And I'll touch very, very briefly on it. They were, for those that don't know, Charles Manson was a cult leader, and he had a following called the Manson family that portrayed themselves as hippies. So, like, I think that's kind of what she was thinking of too.
Yeah.
And they were known for all their murders that took place in LA. And then in August of 1969, just a couple months before Dale's murder, Sharon Tate and 6 others in LA were brutally murdered over the course of 2 nights. So this is heavy on everybody's mind. So one of the things that this woman did notice was that there were California license plates, which is why bringing in the Manson family into this is...
It might coincide.
Yeah. And so that's what she's thinking is, well, these hippies are dancing in a circle, California license plates, like it was all adding up in her head. And this was kind of the beginning of the satanic panic, which really happened in the 80s, but this kind of
probably started it.
Yeah. Along with a couple other cases I'm sure we'll get into. Okay, so these guys are in a circle, and they see this friend talking to this lady. And they're like, what the fuck? So they all stop, and they're like,
oh no,
hello? Yeah. And so they all stop, and they're kind of just like looking at each other. They're buffering. And so she thankfully is like, okay, quick thinking, let me skirt out of here.
Skirt.
Yeah, and was able to...
Need to get up and go.
Yeah. And was able to, what my notes say, quote, dip out.
And those were her exact words in her head.
Exactly.
In the
70s. So all she could recall seeing was those guys in the parking lot, the man on the motorcycle, and then a chromed out car with the California license plates.
Okay.
So about 2 hours later, an off-duty police officer and some of his friends saw a light beige or burnt orange car with California license plates.
Okay.
And a motorcycle speeding away from the church parking lot.
So this is matching the lady's story.
Yes.
Okay.
So they didn't see the people going and dancing and doing all the rituals and stuff, but they saw these people speeding away, and they didn't really think anything of it because I guess the church parking lot was a really big party spot.
Random. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not partying in my church parking lot.
I've done it a couple times.
Wow. What kind of party are you having in the church parking lot?
Hey, we were just hanging out.
Jesus is watching, man.
I know. And then we all got up and went to church the next day. Crazy.
Said, Father, forgive me for my sins.
Yes, I'm so sorry for what I did last night on your church grounds. So, yeah, they see these people, they see them speed off, don't think anything of it. About 8 hours later is when the 2 12-year-old boys discovered Dale's body. They immediately ran to get help. Dale's body was horribly mutilated.
These poor little boys.
Yeah.
12 years old. No therapy in the 70s.
No therapy.
Their mental health is fucked at this point.
Absolutely. I would love... Obviously, their names were kept out of the media.
Thank goodness.
Just because they're minors. Like, I understand.
Yeah, but...
But I would love to pick their brain.
How are you feeling
How
nowadays?
you doing, buddy?
You know, it's been 50 years or so.
Yeah.
You doing all right?
How's it going? So, okay, so I'm going to get into what his wounds were. So, trigger warning for anybody that has kind of a queasy stomach. So, it was found out that Dale had 15 stab wounds.
Holy crap.
And his head was nearly decapitated. His right hand was almost severed at the wrist. And his left hand was still tucked into his pocket, clutching onto his unopened pocket knife.
Oh, like he was going to defend himself.
Yeah. So that part breaks my heart because I'm just like, this poor guy, like, his chess tournament got canceled. He went to dinner by himself. He went out by himself.
Home by himself.
Yeah.
Killed it. The holy ground.
Yeah, exactly. What's supposed to be.
Holy ground. I don't know what it is now.
Oh, I was about to say a safe place.
Oh! My bad.
That's so funny.
So 15 stab wounds. The strength you have to do that to a person's body.
Especially to decapitate somebody.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Going through the bones in a wrist.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
exactly.
the absolute strength you have to have.
Yes.
But if it's those 5 men, like we're guessing, taking turns.
Yeah. I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So, because he was so badly, I keep saying the way mutilated because that's really what it is.
Yeah.
They actually had identified him from the ID numbers that were stamped into his underwear. So, back then, and I'm not sure about now, but back then it was super common for soldiers to stamp their ID numbers into their garments because you're living in the barracks, you're all doing laundry together, so it's easy for things to get lost.
Mm-hmm.
So thankfully, a couple soldiers years ago got smart and started stamping it.
Yeah.
Or this would have been completely different. So Dale's body was transferred to Comanche Memorial Hospital until Reynolds Army Hospital, which is the hospital on Fort Sill, was able to come down and claim his body. So from there, they were able to perform an actual autopsy on Dale. And they found out that Dale was heavily intoxicated.
Okay.
And they think that he may have actually been knocked unconscious when the murder first started. Which I hope to whatever God there is that he was knocked unconscious and wasn't able to feel any of that. Or like, I mean, yes, it sucks that he was heavily intoxicated and not able to defend himself. But I would hope
that he didn't have to feel anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Passed out.
Exactly.
I wonder if those guys, if it was the guys, this is all cold case, we don't know for sure. What if they were at the club and they were feeding him drinks?
Could be.
Something.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Good job, Detective Bailey.
Noggin.
So from the autopsy, it was determined that a 5-inch blade was actually used to murder Dale. And the fatal blow was when the blade entered his abdomen, striking upward to his heart. So they think
stomach up to his ribs.
Yeah. So they think that the guy might have been standing like at his head or something, like when he was laying down.
Oh, gotcha.
And then like
dragged
going.
It.
Yeah, kinda. So at first, investigators were actually considering that the church was the dump site, just because they couldn't find any other evidence.
Yeah.
No other blood anywhere else. So they later determined that it was probably unlikely, since they couldn't see anything.
Yeah, there probably been like blood splatter somewhere.
Yeah.
Like drag marks from the
Exactly.
blood.
Yeah. So they think that that might have been the killing site, and his blood, because there was so much of it, just soaked into the ground. A few hours later, after the body was discovered, a man actually called the police. And this is, again, just a few hours after the body was discovered. And it's not like today's time where we can tweet something
and everybody knows what's going on.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then the newspaper article didn't even come out till the next day. So it might have been word of mouth. I don't know. But the phone call was super weird because this guy just ends up confessing to the murder and is telling police all this information. So the police are like, okay, like let's follow this lead. But unfortunately, never located the man or anything about it. Yeah.
Because, they would have to know. If it's only a couple hours after. Word of mouth back then, I don't really travel that fast. I mean, unless everybody's all sitting at the bar or the late night diner.
I don't know. I mean, back then Lawton was smaller.
Yeah. I guess
small town gossip. Easier. Yeah. But then again, you have those fucked up individuals too that call just to get in on the case.
They just want to know things.
Yeah. So
catch me if you can.
No, yeah, exactly. So no idea who this man is. They have no leads up until a couple months later. They thought they had a lead with a man who ended up killing a woman in a similar fashion down in San Antonio, Texas. And I'm not going to mention the guy, his name, just because I'll explain here in a second. But I just don't want to throw his name out there if he's been kind of wiped off of the case, you know?
Wasn't him.
Yeah. So this guy had just gotten out of Comanche County Jail on a bogus check charge just days before Dale's murder. So that's where they thought, like, oh, that's the connection. But he actually left Lawton like 3 or 4 days before Dale's murder. So it had to be like within a week somehow.
Yeah.
So yeah, again, no leads from that either. The police ended up questioning over 500 people.
Holy crap.
With no leads at all. So a year and a half later, Dale's parents put up a $5,000 reward for any information about their son, and they said they would keep it up for at least 2 years. But again, unfortunately, 2 years later, it went unclaimed and eventually just went back to his parents.
Yeah.
So yeah, Dale's murder is still unsolved to this day. That is all the evidence that we have.
That's
there was
horrible.
One other kind of like suspicion that police had and thought it might have been a case of like the killers getting the wrong guy.
Oh, okay.
So there was actually another soldier with the same last name as Dale that was known for helping out local law enforcement with multiple narcotic investigations. And they believe the killer suspected that Dale was this other guy and was eventually lured to his death.
Yeah.
But again, no leads came from that either. The guy, the other soldier, testified in court and everything and was just like, could have been, no idea. Again, they investigated it. Nothing came from it.
Nothing came of it.
So Dale's parents and his brother both passed away without ever knowing who killed him.
No closure.
No, not at all. And I hope they were able to get some type of peace before then, because I did a little bit of digging into their family history, and it's ancestry.com. It could be wrong, but it showed that he had another brother and sister that also passed away.
Oh my gosh.
So
parents.
yeah, I know.
You're not supposed to bury your kids.
No, and it breaks my heart, especially because there's no other information about him, which is why I think I was so drawn to the case, because I'm just like, this wasn't just some guy. Like, this was a soldier. This was another kid, like our age. I mean, he was 30, but still, like
a young man.
Yeah, a young man was brutally murdered, and we know nothing at all.
No history.
Nothing.
Hobbies.
No.
Going to school. Nothing. That's insane.
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy.
It's horrible. So, if any of you have any information, please call the Lawton Police Department at 580-581-3270. And hopefully somebody will come forward with some
kind of information. I know it's 50 years later, but that's just, I really do wonder if this people from California, like if this was a cult drive-by thing, when you go kill this guy, and then we're going back to California. Yeah. Lawton back then is not going to travel the way to California, question people.
What you said earlier, it keeps poking at my brain about like them taking or meeting him at the club and feeding him drinks.
I really think that could have happened.
Yeah.
Because why would he have gotten absolutely wasted by himself? If he's a soldier, he's going to have some kind of discipline. Where at least I would hope, I would think.
Yeah.
He would have some kind of discipline where he's like, I need to be able to get home safely.
Yeah, because if you get caught, you're fucked.
You're
whatever
the upper dude is.
Your first sergeant is
kick your ass.
He's shit. So
I wonder if they would have followed him to the bar, met him at the bar, be like, hey, that's our guy.
Yeah, or been like, hey, what's your name?
Yeah.
Or whatever. Or if he was wearing his uniform, which I don't know if he was or not. He was going to a chess tournament, so probably not.
Yeah.
But just said like, hey, what's your name? And then, oh, I'm Dale Sorrenson. Oh, fuck, Sorrenson. That's that one guy.
Yeah.
And then got him fucked up and then eventually led him to the church. But again, we don't know. Nobody knows anything.
They're all conspiracy theories.
Yeah. So I have a friend that happens to be a police officer for the same department. And so I called him and was like, hey, go check out this church for me. And so it was like 11:30 at night. And I'm like, listen, I need you to go here. I need you to investigate. Obviously, nothing's gonna fucking be there.
Bring out your detective skills,
Yeah.
sir.
So this hoe gets out of the car and is like, okay,
By himself?
11:30 at night in one of the sketchiest places in Lawton, just digging around this church.
He's like, look what I found here.
Yeah. So I have it all recorded.
Perfect.
I know exactly what church it is.
So we need to go visit.
I don't know if I'm going to post the name of the church.
At least post a building. People can figure it out themselves.
But I'm going to post the picture of the building of where we think Dale's body was found. And I only think that's where he was at just because there is an old newspaper article with a picture of the detective looking at the crime scene.
Yeah.
So I'll post both of those so that way we can see it in today's time and
what it looked like back then.
Mm-hmm. And the picture is it's really dark. It's an old newspaper.
Yeah.
So
black and white.
Yeah. So yeah.
Crazy.
That's the story of Dale.
We need to go visit this church.
Yeah, we do.
Maybe you can feel Dale.
I don't know. Use my little spirituality stuff.
Yeah.
Do a little witchy shit.
Have Dale talk to you a little bit.
I know.
Tell us who the is, Dale. Please.
Gosh, it's so heartbreaking.
It's horrible.
It really is.
But I'm glad you brought awareness to it. What a great story today, Reagan.
Thanks, Bailey.
Of course,
I really hope somebody comes forward and says something, but who knows?
Another time.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty. Well,
okay.
Guys, like, follow, subscribe. We'll get you a new episode next week. Stay safe in the graveyard.
Bye.
Bye, guys.